Thank you so much for taking some time today. So obviously some big news over the last 24 hours, Emily, here in Toronto. Willie Nylander, brand new extension. Just curious to see the perception, the ideology, the thought stateside when it comes to the Nylander extension. What are people saying about it?
That it makes a lot of sense. Obviously it's a lot of money, but this is a player that's commanded that amount of money. I do think that we all recognize, and I think you guys are probably going to laugh when I say this, but Toronto is a unique market. And even when you're not in the Toronto market, we understand that there's certain taxes that you have to play to go with that huge media scrutiny, all of the pressure, obviously the expectations of finally winning a Stanley Cup after this long drought. And the truth is, Willie Nylander is a player that doesn't shy away from that. It's been proven in the playoffs. He's been their star player that has consistently showed up. And when you have that, when he's in his prime, when he's looking as good as he does this year, and he's already adding more responsibilities, right? You now see him on the penalty kill. He's improved his defense. It is a no-brainer, especially with the cap going up slightly next year. I think it's a great fit for both sides.
For sure. Emily, when like you say, when you're down in the States and Toronto comes to town, what's the perception of their team overall? I mean, a team that has a lot of fans behind them, a lot of weight behind them, and has always struggled traditionally. When they come to town, are they feared? Obviously, they're kind of peaking as a team, or are they known as being inconsistent? What's the mindset behind facing the Maple Leafs when they come down south?
I think no doubt other players in the league, and I do believe fans and the general population as well, views them as one of the best teams in the league. I think they're offensive dynamite. They have so many skilled star players that you have to worry about. It's not just one line producing. They're starting to get some more depth below the star tiers. But I think it's kind of the rolling of the eyes where it's the same old Leafs, where it's the same issues that have plagued them for the last several years. They can't find consistent goaltending. There always seems to be a leaky defense. They're always seemingly on the market for new defensemen. And so it's a team that should be feared, but it's a team that you feel like you can unravel if you hit some of their weaknesses.
And certainly, I think you look at this roster, Emily. I mean, there's some bona fide stud talent. We just talked about Nylander, Auston Matthews. I mean, I'm sure you've been peeking in on what's transpiring there. You're doing the game on Thursday on Long Island. This guy is in one this year, and he has to be on the short list for the Hart Trophy again, no?
Yeah, he does. There's so many great candidates this year. I mean, what Nathan McKinnon's doing is absolutely insane. I just had a Penguins game, and I think it's insane to say, but Sidney Crosby's just not getting enough credit for what he's doing in his age 36 season. They're not in the position they're in right now, even breathing in the playoff space, if he isn't, just being super consistent, super dominant, doing all the little details every night. That said, what Auston Matthews is doing needs to get its flowers. Scoring goals is what this league is all about, and he does it so consistently. Other aspects of his game just truly drive the offense. Here in America, obviously, we're big fans of him. He's our golden boy, right? He represents new hockey. He grew up in one of the states where we're trying to grow the game. He plays with a certain swag. He goes up and plays in Canada and represents us all well. In fact, he's kind of become a little too Canadian, even in the way that he speaks. I feel like we want to see a little bit more personality out of him. But on the ice, he is just a dominant force. And absolutely, when we talk about MVP, he's going to be in that conversation. I just feel like there's so many guys deserving this year. It's going to be a really interesting race down the stretch.
For sure. Emily, going back to the Nylander contract, he has a full 8-year no trade clause that kicked in the second he signed it for even the existing one. What's your thought on that as far as, really locking those players in? Obviously good for the player, but does it give them too much power, and does it kind of handcuff the organizations from making any necessary moves?
Of course it does, but I think in this day and age, it's a necessity. This feels like something that's baked into so many of these long-term contracts. When you're talking about a star player, they want those assurances. That said, how many times have we seen in the last several years, it comes to the trade deadline, general manager is asking, hey, look, you signed this deal 5-6 years ago. Our team's in a different position right now. You might want to go chase a cup. Can you please waive it? It's like, whoa, why do we sign a contract if we're going to amend the terms of the contract? So we'll see where this goes with Willie. Ideally, the Leafs are competitive during that entire time, and he's still playing at a high level at the end of it. They're still contending for cups, but dynamics change. Who knows if Brad Treliving's still running the team? Who knows who's coaching the team? We know how quickly this league churns. But if they wanted to get him signed, I think that was probably a non-starter for Willie Nylander and his camp. So good for him. I'm always for more player agency. Obviously, we're talking about a lot today with the Cutter Gauthier situation. And if this is just one small assurance that a player can get, I'm in favor of them getting it.
Emily,
Do you
what
think
the
you should?
hell is going on with that? The Cutter Gauthier thing. Like, what is happening there?
Yeah, talking to people around the league today, it's not the first time this has happened, right? Like you see guys get drafted, they don't really want to sign with that team. I just did a feature with Adam Fox. Great example, right? He gets drafted by the Flames, never tells the Flames he's going to sign, kind of quietly says, I need more time in Harvard, need more time in Harvard. They get the idea that he doesn't want to sign there. They trade him to Carolina. I think Carolina felt a little bamboozled, like they didn't quite know what Adam Fox was getting in the air. Yeah, but you have one time to live your life. That's what Adam told me. You have one opportunity. You got to do it. And so Adam basically willed his way to his childhood favorite team, the New York Rangers, where he's now their star defenseman. Now, there's a difference between why Adam Fox is viewed the way he is and why Cutter Gauthier is getting absolutely dragged today. And I think that's because of transparency. And again, we've seen this time and time again, but we've never really seen players ghost the general managers and player personnel people that have drafted them going across the world to events and them saying like, nah, I'm not going to meet with you. And I'm not going to explain why. And I'm not going to tell you why I'm not coming to development camp. That rubs people the wrong way, especially as a strong-willed to a front office as Philadelphia, especially with the city and the attitude of Philadelphia. So that's why you're seeing him being completely villainized. But I don't think this is the first time it's happened to the league. And I think if I start to understand Generation Z and the agency that they want to wield, it's definitely not going to be the last. I would just hope that other players learn the lessons of Cutter Gauthier, where transparency, just talk it out. Like these things can get fixed.
That's true. And the irony again of way back when with Eric Lindros, and that's how he ends up a member of the Philadelphia Flyers. And Rosie, I'd love for you to chime in. You played for the Flyers. How are they going to handle this kid after you request a trade? Hasn't even played a game in the show yet.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's a more old school team than the Philadelphia Flyers. And I mean, when you go upstairs in their barn, it is the old, the old guard. All those boys are still kicking around and running things. So they're very tight knit. They're very proud, and like Emily said, their fan base is very brash. So to do something like that is one thing, but yeah, to do it in the fashion that he did, and I mean, if you're a future Hall of Famer and you're pulling this stunt, everyone's like, oh, that's kind of rude. But you're a 19-year-old kid who, yes, you got sky's the limit. You're a fifth overall pick, solid player, but let's be honest, you haven't done anything in the league yet, and before you even step foot in the door, you're calling this out and calling your shot and stuff. It's a very good way to rub people the wrong way, especially the Philadelphia Flyers organization.
I love a story like that, right, Emily? I love a story like that.
That's the thing. Like, I feel like all we say in hockey is it's so boring. Everyone conforms. Players don't even use the pronoun I. They say we or you. It's always team first. This year has brought us the juice. Like, we have so much drama in the league this year. It's getting like shades of NBA pettiness. So I like it.
Yeah, that's been my dream. Like I watch the NBA closely, like on a daily basis. A guy goes on a podcast, he's like, I hate it here. Get me out. Like I think the NHL would be just such a different world if guys actually spoke how they felt. And I just love the fact that the Flyers draft this guy and he's like, yeah, I love Sidney Crosby growing up. It just was a cherry on top. And I think it's a perfect tie into the last question. You're doing the game on Thursday for ESPN, another return for John Tavares. It's going to be a hostile barn. They love him there, right?
Yeah, I'll be between the benches. I am so curious to see what the crowd reception is. UBS Arena, if you haven't been, it's not the Nassau Coliseum. Like, you know this, Aaron. Like, the Collie was legit. It was gritty. It was everything that Long Island represents. This barn looks like Rogers Place in Edmonton. It's brand new. It's spacious. But the fans are going to show out for this one. I feel for John. I actually feel for the Islanders organization because what I understand behind the scenes, like there was a lot of debate of how should we appropriately handle John Tavares coming back and hitting such a major milestone of 1,000. And they decided to do a tribute, which I think was the right classy move. And if you know anything about Lou Lamoriello, which obviously you guys do in Toronto, he's all about class and he definitely thought it through. Of course, you just can't control your fans, especially if they've got 1, 2, 3, 17 beers in them. So I'd like to think this time around, maybe there'll be just like a little more grace, a little more empathy. But again, like these are the storylines that make the league run. It gives us something to talk about the next day. So a little bit of drama, maybe a little bit of revenge. If this amps him up, if this amps the team up, I think it should be a good game.
Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long form interviews, we got clips, we got epic rants by Jay Rosehill. We simply have it all. And don't forget, you can find out much more at theleafsnation.com. Thanks so much for watching.